You know, I think that you always worry about your life getting sucked out from under you, you know, and there's also the part of you that is, you know, it can be a bit cynical about politics. I mean, I worry about whether politics can be nurturing of somebody who's decent and kind. I mean, there's always been a bit of hesitation on my part. You know, I always joked and said there's a more sane way to earn a living. Don't do it. Teach. Do something fun. But for me, it was always thinking about the practical elements. How are we going to make sure that our kids were solid? You know, how are we going to structure this? I mean, I'm very practical. I have to know, how is this going to play out? You know, Barack is like, let's do it. And I'm like, well, what about school? What about... So there are a lot of practical considerations that we had to go through, and I had to know that we were thinking this thing through in a way that would ensure that our family would stay grounded and stable through the process.
Were your fears well-founded? Has your family stayed grounded through the process?
You know, I have been pleasantly surprised. I mean, our girls, you know, we have 9- and 6-year-olds, and they have just been phenomenal throughout this. I think, you know, what you find is that the kids are the ones who transition the easiest. I mean, you know, their main concern about this whole race was whether or not they could get a dog. That was the bargaining chip. It was like, you want to run for president? We're getting a dog. And let me tell you, we talk about this dog every day. Every day. What kind are we going to get? You do know we're getting it. What breed? How big? How small? Yesterday morning, we talked about names. I said, look, you're getting the dog. Just knock it off.
Right now, let us run. The process of the actual campaign.
Before I answer that, I noticed when I looked at the screen that it had Ann Romney under Cindy's name. Our husbands might be surprised. So maybe someone ought to fix that. Or we'll be going home.
Mary, Elizabeth, Cindy.
Or we'll be going home to the wrong husbands tonight. So, you know, you wonder before you get into this. I wondered, you know, what was it going to be like? I was curious. What does it mean? And then you start getting asked to do things, and you're asked to speak, and you're asked to represent your husband, and you're doing all these things, and you're surprised by how much you're asked to go speak and do all these different things. So I do get involved in my schedule. I do want to know where I'm going. I do want, you know, to have input. I don't have input on strategy or any of the messaging or anything like that. And I think, Elizabeth, you and I know too, it's like, sometimes we say things and it's like someone thinks that they put those words in our mouth and say, no, it's just coming from here. And that's just, you know, you have to be who you are, and you have to have the flexibility and the luxury of expressing yourself for who we are as individuals.
What I find, I think one of the reasons why people are so fascinated, I think particularly women, is because I think we're all struggling with this notion of balance. You know, and I think that we are the public representation of the challenges that we are all facing. I mean, when I go to Iowa or New Hampshire, the first question is, how are you managing? How are you staying grounded? How are you keeping it together? And I think that that's what all of us as women are trying to figure out, because we're juggling and we're challenged and we're overworked and we're overscheduled and we're not getting the support that we need. And there's a part of me that feels that it's very therapeutic to be out on the road, to talk to women, to say, hey, you're not crazy. This is hard. And if I'm struggling, how on earth are nurses and bus drivers and how are regular folks doing it who don't have a mother who's 5 minutes away, and the resources? You know, our communities are drowning at some level, and I think they're fascinated at how we're managing. So
I'd like to say something about this too, because I wonder if Elizabeth has thought these thoughts as well. Is when you think of all that women have to do, and they basically keep everybody happy. And I don't care if you're in a professional relationship with your husband's going to be helping out and everything. The woman always ends up doing more. I'm sorry, that doesn't work. It's the way.
Raise 5 boys.
5 boys. Yeah. And you know that it's just, there are so much that falls on women's shoulders. They're trying to keep, as Elizabeth is now, elderly parents you've got teenage children, you're trying to work, you're trying to keep everybody, you're trying to keep food, you're trying to clean the house. All of these things take an enormous toll on us. And I personally believe that, I've been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Elizabeth has breast cancer. That at some point our bodies as women finally say uncle. And there's a weakness or something that happens, and you'll find so many women have autoimmune diseases. But I truly believe because we are juggling so many balls all the time and keeping it together for everybody, that we forget to take care of ourselves. And
you come together and you talk about the issues that you care about, and you share those thoughts. But in the end, I go to my job and I make decisions on my job. And those are my decisions, and he goes to his job and he makes the decisions on his job. Now, I would like to think that he would have the good sense to understand that usually I am correct.
When he got down, when he felt he was beaten to a pulp and that he couldn't go on, she was there to lift him up. Buck up, get out there, this is a volunteer job, she would say to him. You volunteered for this, go out and do it, you're there. I assume all of you are doing that. Who's doing it for you?
I have my boys. My
boy.
boys call me all the time. They email me every day. They call me almost every day.
Your boys do
my
that?
5 boys.
Where are my boys?
Yeah, I have 5 wonderful sons. They're all adults now. They're married, and I think they are very grateful that their dad's out there doing this, and they also understand how difficult it is for me. And so they call me. They're great. They're there for me. It's really terrific. I unfortunately have lost both my parents, and that would be obviously who would be supporting us. And now, as we get older, we go through those struggles as well. But it's great to get the phone call and the pat on the back. And you have friends too. You have friends. I have friends that'll email me. I have friends who email me every single day, and it just means the world to you.
Michelle, who's there for you to say, it's not as bad as you think?
I think it's Marion Robinson in my ear, my mother. I hear, don't sweat the small stuff. Get up, get over it. He's a good man. Don't be mad at him. Right.
Raising out would you shorten the process?
Yeah,
You wish you could get the money out of it. It's you wish that would. It's very hard to spend most of your time just fundraising. It's just really, really frustrating to have that part be so important part of the piece. You wish you could get that out.
But we can do that. That's another thing. We can get Congress to really think critically about campaign finance. That's on us. We can change that part of the process, but it's a huge distraction. And you have to have the money to get seen. So that's something. I would also stop this sort of pontificating and the polling and the so early in the process, so that people can actually listen and be open-minded and make decisions at the polling place after they've factored in everything. I think we do that every year. We call it and we say who's in and who's out, and people don't know what to think and they're not paying attention. That interferes, in my view, with the democratic process of listening and learning and being open-minded and discussing the issues and learning the candidates.
Other thing that's really critical to me, and maybe this is how I'd want to change it after you do get elected, is you listen when you go. You hear what they're saying. You hear what they care about, what their concerns are. And, I think maybe once you get in that office, you get so insulated and isolated, you lose the chance to really understand what people are thinking and hearing and feeling.